September 28, 2014, from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. It was the New Orleans Saints at the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football in prime time. And what a game this was, is the Cowboys showed up and beat up the Saints as they started off this game with 24 unanswered points. In the first quarter, halfway through, Terrance Williams caught a 6-yard touchdown pass from Tony Romo that made it 7-0 Cowboys. Then in the second quarter, with a little under 6 minutes left before halftime, Dan Bailey kicked the 51-yard field goal to make it 10-0 Cowboys. Then about a minute and a half later, DeMarco Murray ran it in 15 yards for a touchdown to make it 17-0 Cowboys. And then just before halftime, less than 30 seconds left on the clock, Tony Romo hits Terrance Williams for the second time in this game, this one for 23 yards and the touchdown that made it 24-0. So it was 24-0 at halftime as the Cowboys were routing the Saints and just returning the favor from a year ago. Now in the third quarter, the Saints would finally get on the board as Shayne kicked the 30-yard field goal to make it 24-3 as they trailed the Cowboys by 3 touchdowns. But then about 5 minutes later, between 4 and 5 minutes later, about 4.5 minutes later, DeMarco Murray got his second touchdown of the game, this one from 28 yards out as he ran it in and made the score 31-3 as he put the Cowboys up by 28 points. Then in the fourth quarter, the Saints had a little bit of a comeback attempt as Drew Brees finally found the end zone for New Orleans as he hit Josh Hill for the 12-yard touchdown that made it 31-10 as the Saints now trail by 3 touchdowns. And then a few minutes later, Drew Brees threw a second touchdown pass of the game, this one to Jimmy Graham for 13 yards that made it 31-17 as they now trail by 14 points. The Cowboys, though, would respond, even though it took them a little time, but Dez Bryant and Tony Romo hooked up for an 18-yard touchdown pass that made it 38-17 and put this game out of reach. And the Cowboys win this one easily in Dallas on prime time Sunday Night Football, with the final score 38-17. And in this game, Tony Romo was 22 for 29 with 262 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. He also rushed for 20 yards off of 6 carries. Drew Brees was 32 for 44 with 340 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He also had 6 yards off of 1 carry on the ground. But the leading rusher in this game was DeMarco Murray, who had 149 yards off of 24 carries, 2 of which went in the end zone for touchdowns. Kyrie Robinson had 87 yards off of 8 carries for the Saints. The leading receiver was Jimmy Graham, who had 86 yards off of 8 catches, and 1 of which was for a touchdown. Terrance Williams was the leading receiver for the Cowboys with 77 yards off of 6 receptions, 2 of which were for touchdowns. Dez Bryant had 44 yards with 3 receptions and 1 touchdown, and Jason Witten had 61 yards and 5 receptions. The Cowboys come up big in this one. They actually sacked Drew Brees twice, as both Crawford and Melton got in there and got the sack. The Saints got to Romo one time. Durant got an interception, and there was some really good play from Carter. Of course, he got injured, though, sad to say for Cowboys fans, but we'll keep an eye on that to see how he's doing and if he'll be able to play next week. But as for this one, the Cowboys win pretty handily as they beat the Saints by 21 points with the final score 38-17 Dallas over New Orleans. As the Cowboys improved their record to 3-1 as they are now tied for first place in the NFC East with the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Saints fall to 1-3 as they are in the basement in the NFC South.